Welcome, everybody, to Jay the Unstoppable. I am JD Rosario from Unstoppable Comics. Been publishing comic books since 2008, talking to people all around the world about the ins and outs and how to avoid some of the mistakes that I have made. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to a couple friends of mine, one of which who was at Comics Pro this week. Excuse me, not this past weekend, this week. And for those of you who do not know what Comics Pro is, that it is an industry event where retailers and vendors get together and talk about what's coming out and some other things that can help the industry. So it's not a convention event, it's more specialized. Today, the folks that will be joining me to talk about this are Mr. JD Calderon, who is not at his seat right now.
I'm here. Dang it. I'm here. What's up, everybody?
It's
JD Calderon, the writer and creator of the Oswald Chronicles. Thank you very much. Soon to be back on Kickstarter in a couple of days, meaning Monday. So,
very good. And we're going to be talking to the guy who was at Comics Pro, Mr. Marvin Wynn. What up, brother?
You know, I'm just here to start trouble and stir it up. That's my only motivation. So it was Marvin Wynn, straight out of Pittsburgh, representing the Comicsburgh.
All right, man. Comicsburgh at Comics Pro.
Yeah.
And how did it go?
It went well. I mean, I would say that we all kind of agreed that it was better than last year.
Okay.
We got to actually kick doors down because now most of the people who were there know who we are. So it's not just stumbling around explaining what Comicsburgh is. All we have to do is walk around with a T-shirt on that says Comicsburgh on. Say, oh, you guys are Comicsburgh. We know you. You're from here, right? So it just makes it easier and makes it a more comfortable scene to walk around and people knowing who you are and you're not just this faceless person in the crowd.
Okay. And when did the event start?
It officially started Wednesday. They had like a mixer, but I didn't go. I didn't start until Thursday. So I was down there 8 a.m. Thursday to get my badge and get some free food.
So tell me about this mixer. What's the biggest difference between this and a regular comic book convention?
It's not really assigned as you go set up a table and sell things to people, because it's mostly vendors, which could be publishers of comics, could be publishers of games, could be publishers of other things. So you've got media like ICV2, you've got Comics Hub, you've got Lunar, you've got Diamond, you've got Marvel, you got DC, and then you've got a few creators sprinkled in there like us and a few other people. So it's not really that. So we only hit a certain amount of time to actually talk to retailers because they're in rooms while they're being pitched to by the big guys who have all the loot to get 10 minutes to pitch them on what they have coming for this year.
So are they like monopolizing the time, or?
I wouldn't say monopolizing, but it's kind of like pushing you over there somewhere. Because they've got the ability to take over the time because people are there for the big guys. They're there for Marvel, they're there for DC, they're there for Boom, they're for Image, and we're kind of like the other side of the circus, saying, "Hey, look over here," and throwing up balloons and streamers and things and trying to get their attention.
So how do you get their attention besides putting up balloons and streamers and things like that?
You stand in their way when they're walking in the hallway.
You didn't bring strippers?
Not this time.
Not this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Next
so
time.
we had it like when we did the vendor hall, we were outside of the vendor hall, so we had a good space. So they had to walk past us to get to Amy Jo Johnson, who was there from Boom.
Amy Jo Johnson, what is she doing from Boom?
She's writing a book with them. I don't remember what book it was. But if you don't know who Amy Jo Johnson, she was the Pink Ranger on the original Power Rangers.
Oh, Amy Jo Johnson. Yes. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a line for Amy Jo in front of our table. So we say, hey, you're in line to get ready and you're going to be here for a while. Why don't you come check out what we're doing? So, I got to show them the trailer I played that trailer like about 150 times
Nice.
over the last 4 days,
Nice.
and everybody was into it. So I mean, it's a kicker. I mean, the one thing that I always want is to have something to be a door kicker, something that is going to entice and bring someone over and say, hey, what's that noise? Because near the end of the trailer, I've got that loud scream, and it's there purposely to get someone's attention who's across the room and just hears this yelling and screaming going like, what's that noise? Let me go check this out.
So you're talking about door kickers. What is one of the door kickers besides the promo video that you're doing to grab attention, besides just grabbing them as a passively the whole
or sending their way, walking up to them when they're at a urinal and when they can't go anywhere.
Okay.
So we give out free product. So we
Right.
gave out shot glasses, we gave out business cards, we gave out flyers, we gave out bookmarks, we gave out stickers that were sent to me by Tom Hutchinson. So I gave out a lot of stickers and magnets from Tom's pal over the weekend.
All right. So Comics Pro is a trade show, kind of like Toy Fair.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're generating sales like in bulk, right?
Yes.
You're not selling by hand, individual units and things like that.
Yes and no. So in some cases, people did come over and say, hey, I want to check this. I want to read it. Just sell me issue 1 and then I'll come back.
Now these are retailers.
Yes. And for the most part, most of the people flew in and they don't want to carry extra baggage back. So, I mean, we did some pre-orders and we did some we'll do follow-up starting Monday. Okay.
So these are like pre-orders that you're going to be doing through Diamond, through direct to retailers.
It's going to be both because like I said, like they know that issue 5 is out next week of the Edge, and then issue 6 is in previews now. I didn't have the physical previews, but I had the digital version, so I was like, hey, here's the order code. I'll make sure that you get it because we have they use an app called Hoova where I can communicate with everyone that was at the show. Like we were actually talking. Jeff Johns actually came over to our table, and we talked to Jeff Johns for a little while too.
Very cool. Was your sales rep from Diamond there?
No, there was a rep from Diamond that I did not get to see. I think they were huddled away somewhere. Like they had one person there, and I probably may have glanced them from a distance. No, not the person we deal with directly from Diamond was not there.
Wow, it's a little telling when they're not at this event and they canceled their other summit and canceled the summit before that.
Yeah,
but I think they canceled the summit before that.
No, what was it? 3 years ago they were at
2 in a row or 3 in a row.
2. So 3 years ago they were at Baltimore. They were at the Baltimore Con. They were there Thursday, the day before we got there, because if I would have been there because our rep was there at Baltimore. So I did meet him in Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure, I mean, those guys have lost 70% of their business or 60% of their business somewhere in that area. So they're going to have cutbacks. And trust me, this sort of event is going to be one of them.
Right.
Oh, but they're selling pops and supplies and Iron Guard and, toys, Come on.
I think that they're going to be shifting more into that other stuff market. Is going to be their catcher toys and games and things like that is where they're probably going to plant their flag.
Now you had a couple of events over there, right? You did something leading into Comics Pro. What was that?
Right. So that Thursday night we had a release party for our Comicsburgh member Doc Pond Brown. He was releasing the first issue of Theme of Thieves through Diamond. So it came out Wednesday, and then we had the party Thursday night. Okay. So we had 3 bands. It was a good time. We had one of the things that we've been doing is trying to do cross promotions, and one of the things we're doing is a cross promotion with a wrestling organization here in the city. And the wrestler from that organization, his name is Yenza, is the Pittsburgh Luchador, came to the event.
So this was your event,
yes,
right? You had some bands playing over there,
yeah,
and this was the Luchador, right?
Yes, yeah, that's Yenza.
Yenza, okay, okay, very cool. So now, I mean, you got the music playing. How do you do the wheeling and dealing?
That's the kicker, man. So this is a very small space, and it wasn't going on. So I actually had a person come through. He does a website that's Pittsburgh focused website, and we were trying to talk, and it wasn't happening. We had to go outside to talk, and it was raining outside, and I'm like, this is terrible. So I think the next one we do, it might be at a venue that has 2 floors, so we'll have our stuff upstairs and the music downstairs, so that it's not interrupting the wheeling, as you say, the wheeling and dealing that's going on.
Okay, so you try, you fail, you try again.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. You try something different because you know what you did last time didn't work, so we don't do it again. We don't repeat mistakes.
Look, I've done things like that too. New York Comic Con, I had an event on a Saturday night. I got bombed, and I did no business on the next day. I will never host an event during New York Comic Con again.
Right. And I mean, the one thing that may have caused this problem is that one of the other publishers decided to do a concert at the hotel where the Comicsburgh was at the same exact time we were doing ours. Didn't say anything about it. We didn't know until we got there Thursday that this was going on.
Damn.
This was the current one you were at this weekend?
Yes.
Or last? That sucks.
Yeah.
So what other publisher was it?
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Those bastards.
So
Boom was cutting your balls with Amy Jo Johnson,
right?
And then you cut your balls again with the fucking.
Well, the Amy Jo Johnson somewhat helped because they were stuck in line right in front of us, so we could pull them over with the noise from the tablet.
Gosh.
But I think that it was like we lost a few people to that event. We also lost a few people because it was raining, and most of the people who were there didn't drive in their own. They flew in, so they took Uber or shuttles, or they got a ride to the hotel, which meant that they had to Uber to the place. It was only 10 to 15 minutes away, but when it's raining, what happens with Uber prices?
Yeah,
goes up. Okay.
So I think that people would have saw $40 to go 10 minutes. I don't think so. So we invited Jeff Johns. He's like, "Can you walk there?" I mean, that might be something we think about if we do something like that, where it has to be within walking distance of the main venue, because they're not from Pittsburgh. They have no idea where they're going. Right. They don't want to go into a back alley and get mugged.
Right.
And the one thing that Pittsburgh has that you're familiar with from being in Manhattan anytime, there's no such thing as parking. Parking does not exist. So
we have parking. It just costs $100 a day.
Right. So it's in this area called Millville, and it's pretty much just across the bridge from where I live at. And parking doesn't exist. It's like there's houses on one side, the bar is on the other side. There's an apartment building close by, and it's all street parking. And it's like, if you can park, good. If you can't, you're riding around until you can find somewhere to park, which is probably 5 minutes away from the place where you got. So now you have to walk in the rain, because I warned people it was going to rain and no one bought an umbrella. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So you live and you learn, man.
Yeah.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah.
Now, you think though the work you did during this part of the event is going to lead to branding, to sales, to recognition? What do you think?
I think we're going to pull a lot out of that, because we end up getting a lot of the bands who were playing a lot of crossover with their audiences. And we're still in that mode of when someone comes up to us and they say, "You guys make comics in Pittsburgh?" And it's like this light goes on over their head. That just threw me off. That just threw me. Light bulb goes over their head, because like Pittsburgh was a steel city. It's in the mode of technology. It's in the mode of healthcare, and then it's a mode of sports. And you, as an art guy, we're continuously trying to reintroduce that into the minds of the people, because art in the city is amazing. Like you've got an art museum, you've got a museum, you've got an Andy Warhol museum, you've got a science center, you've got the August Wilson Center downtown. You've got all this art, and people are unaware that these things exist, and it's sad sometimes, but I'm just happy that we get to introduce people to these things.
Okay.
Does Pittsburgh Comic Con still exist?
No, that transitioned to the Still City Con, which is now a pop culture event. So, and now it's Three Rivers Con is the comic show here now.
Gotcha.
And that's the one where you're planning on doing the special thing we'll talk about later on, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's something that comes down the pipe. All right. So back to Comics Pro.
Yes.
So it's a 3-day event. You had this concert after one of the days of event. Are they still doing the, I guess, speed dating tables?
Yes.
All right. You want to explain to everybody watching what these speed dating tables are?
So it's pretty, like you said, it's speed dating. So the publisher creator sits at a table, and every 5 minutes or so, they ring a bell, and then the retailers rotate tables. So they go from table 1 to table 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7, 9, etc. So that gives a chance to pitch whatever is coming down the pike to the retailers. We also did this on the Hoover app. We did a speed networking where we all got popped into a room, and then every 3 minutes we rotated to another room. But it was funny that there were so little people on it that joined up that I was in the same room with the same 3 people 4 times. So I rolled in. I was like, "Hey, it's Brian. Hey, Brian, how you doing?" And he's like, "Marvin, I just saw you. Like, you did. You're probably going to see me again." So there we go.
So when you doing these speed dating round tables with the retailers, there's about what 9, 10 at your table?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a small table, so it's a small round table, about 6 chairs around it, and it's just, hey, sit down, hey, and it's one of those things where you immediately have to get into it because you don't have time to.
So what do you have at these tables? Do you have swag? Do you have a sell sheet? Do you have, an order form? Do you got a little video you can play for them?
Yeah. So we're playing the video. We're giving out the like you said, the swag, and things like that, because you're trying to flip somebody really fast, flip them fast, and get them out of there because time's going to run out pretty soon.
Right.
And you've got a whole entire thing you have to get through. So I mean, it's something that comes with practice, and I think that we've gotten good at it because we can do it like that.
Okay, so
really quick.
For shits and giggles, right? Calderon and I are retailers.
Yeah.
Whoop! Bell rings.
So down really quick. So Marvin Wynn, we're coming from Comicsburgh. We're a publisher here in Pittsburgh. We've got 4 creators. We've got multiple titles, and then you're punting a video because we got a video that shows everything. And then we're saying, okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to get your email address so that we can send you any other relevant information. Ding, ding, ding. Get the hell out of here.
Okay, so you don't have like a sales sheet for them. You don't have a one sheet.
No, we try to do everything digital because of the nature of the kind of event it is, and most people traveled in. They're going to take that piece of paper. It's going to go somewhere and disappear.
Okay. So you're not dealing with the tactile experience. What about free samples of books? That's not.
Yeah. So I handed out a few books to a few people, but I think in our next encounter we're going to do a sampler book that has all of it, just to make it a little easier on us, so that we're not just again. You're stuffing that thing into a bag; it could disappear. So I mean, I think that in some instances, digital stuff is probably better.
Let me ask you a question. Were you able to collect like emails?
Yes.
From retailers?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was it a significant amount? I mean,
I got 75 email addresses.
That's a significant amount. Yeah, that's good.
75 email addresses and about 30 to 40 business cards.
Okay, cool.
Now, are you hoping to reach out to these retailers with crowdfunding, with in-store promotions, with stuff to get through Diamond? I mean,
it's going to be the gamut of everything. So we're repurposing like our the way we want to do our newsletter and turn it into like an informational source. It always is. It always is chaos. I mean, but it's controlled chaos. So there's a difference between running into a room doing like this, screaming fire, or walking in a room calmly and saying smoke.
All right. I mean, there was smoke, there was fire.
Yes.
There was energy, right? There was new
Right.
things dropped.
Yeah.
There were people that weren't there. You
Right.
mentioned you only saw one rep from Diamond.
Right.
Right. We spoke about they canceled 2 of their summits.
I think that
What
Diamond
was the word around
probably,
town?
yeah.
About
I mean, it's so. I mean, I'm not an insider. I don't know what's going on, but I got eyes. I can see. I got a brain. I can think. I think that they're in the mode of probably doing smaller events at other trade events.
Mhm.
So,
Well, Carlos is saying he's not sure how potential email addresses are. It sounds great, but I emailed 200 retailers when Remarkables was in the catalog,
right.
and out of 200, maybe 10 actually emailed me back.
So let me
Well,
address that really quick.
yeah.
You're not building a relationship through an email address.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not happening. With that email addresses, and I'm pretty sure that Carlos is using the form. There's phone numbers on there for a reason. You have to call people. I mean, emails are fine. Good, great.
Mhm.
Google has a new spam filter feature that will not let your email through, and if you don't get a response back and acknowledge that you're a human being. Have you seen that? Have you seen that yet?
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen it on a few boxes that I sent to. It'll send you back an email. You have to click a link acknowledging that you're a human being. So people have they have a spam filter set on to block some emails. So if those 200 emails you sent, maybe all of them didn't get through. So of those 10 that you got a response from, are they going to become your bread and butter? Are you now calling them and not sending emails? I mean, I would say that if I right.
Right. So
Exactly.
Tom is saying, he's called shops 9 out of 10 times. They say they can't talk right now. Call back another time. He's played that game. And Carlos, that I did not do too much. I will admit I didn't direct call too many retailers. Okay. But direct calling retailers still doesn't help unless you make that initial contact at something like Comicsburgh.
Right.
Right. You want them to know that the person they met behind their phone is a real person.
Yes.
And hopefully not a douche.
Yeah. I mean, but that's it is that you're building relationships. And I mean, it's not just the emailing, the phone calls, and the Comicsburgh. A lot of these, like, it was one of the things that I brought up at the show is that how many of you guys are doing YouTube shows? How many of you have creators on your shows? So that's another avenue. Get on their shows. Like, get to know who these people are, and they will never forget you. Never. Because there's one thing that Marvel, DC do not do, and that's call a store, talk to a retailer,
right?
Like we do.
Well, I heard CV Cebulski was calling a bunch of people trying to sell gods to a bunch of people, trying to sell gods to stores.
All right. Well, this is where I can speak from. This is where I can speak from experience, right? Yeah. I've got a background as a vendor selling beer to supermarkets throughout New York City, right? I understand what it's like to be a vendor. I understand what you have to do to get into the shop. Sometimes you have to schmooze to get extra shelf space. It's not just a cut and dry, okay, I'm going to buy X amount of cases of X beer. I also remember that there were certain type of promotional events that both the vendor and the retailer had to buy into. So if there was a special promotion and you wanted to take part in a radio ad, both the vendor and the retailer had to pay into that if they wanted to have certain face time, right? Certain recognition. Where things like this are brought up at these meet and greet events. Have retailers spoken to vendors or vice versa to get them to have promotional placements in live streams like this one, not this one in particular, but in others, right? To spread the word out.
There's one tomorrow night that they can definitely sponsor.
They could definitely sponsor.
I mean,
but it's out there, right? Stuff
yeah.
like this is done.
Yeah, it's there.
And stuff that's done in regular traditional business is not done in comic book business.
No, it's not. And it was actually we actually talked to one of the retailers, Joe Murray.
Okay.
He owns a store, Captain Blue Hen.
Okay.
And it's what we had like a 45-minute conversation with him about that exact thing, and he said that you guys are on the ground. You know what works and what doesn't work. Right. The retailers have no idea. They don't.
Really?
At all. They're too far up the ladder to recognize what is happening on the ground because they don't have time to interact with people the way we do, because we have to. We have to interact with people on a continued basis to let them know, hey, this is coming. Hey, this is coming. They don't have to do that. They're an endpoint where to start. So that's where we're going to have to do some of that work for them or with them.
All right. So let me ask you this question, right? To do some of that work for them.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to go to movies now, right? The regular public. And that's what we need. The regular public. Those that are maybe sort of on the outskirts of comic books, but don't know enough about them to get into it. You being someone who's boots on the ground, let's say you find out that X amount of shops, X amount of retailers are within a certain amount of distance to this movie theater. Movie theaters are always asking for, pre-roll ad space, filler, stuff like that. Who's to say you can't say to these retailers, I will promote your shop locations in this theater as long as you're buying my book. And I could say, you could get Marvin Wyn's The Edge or any other book from Comicsburgh at Bobby, Jimmy, Gina, Danny, and Tammy's shop, and then show the locations. Kind of like the old Chia Pet commercials, right? Chia Pet's now available at Walgreens, Dwayne Reed, Rite Aid.
Alternate Comics at one point was actually doing something like that. In the back of their books, they would print all of the stores that actually carried their physical
back of the books, right? You're not reaching the regular public that doesn't know about some of those shops. Right. You want to get people to the shops. Well, people are starting to go to movies again.
Yeah. So this actually came up. This did come up with a store owner in Seoul, Korea.
Okay.
So he's originally from Idaho. He went to Korea to teach, and he brought up that he had partnered up with a local movie chain in his area. So he stamped on his on the backing boards his location of a store, et cetera. And I mean, he said that he had pretty decent sell through, but it's another thing that was just swing and a miss when these movies were making billions and billions of dollars, and there's millions of people going through that lobby to not have any vestige of comics anywhere at all. That was a big miss from both Marvel and DC. And DC actually tried to fix it last year at Comics, where they talked about doing comic advertising in the movies, but then by then it was too late. Like you're going this way now, so no one's paying attention to it now. You had your chance when Iron Man first came out to do that two-way stream. Like you saw a lot of comics that had labels on it saying, hey, Captain America Winter Soldier in theaters. Where's the reverse on that? You kind of blew it.
This is big over here, in my opinion, for Michael. I walk into a shop and the racks of indies are up front before you reach the weekly stuff, and DC and Marvel leftovers are in the back of the store. There's an adage in retail: you leave the milk in the back of the store, because the concept is people are always going to come to the store to get the milk, right? So they're going to pass the store 2 times with one sale and possibly get their eyes on something else within there that they didn't think they needed, they wanted, or something that's catching their eye on the way back to the counter to pay for the milk that they bought. having that in a store is a great setup because you'd know the folks are going to come to get the Marvel and DC, the weekly stuff.
Mhm.
All right. If you put the indie stuff in the front, you're giving them two shots. When they walk in to see it, they're going to go to the back. And when they come back to the front to check out, right? That's a great way to build those opportunities. But unless folks know that shops are in their area, because you're a local, we got to find ways to promote. Right. And if Marvin's saying we're the boots that are on the ground, can't we find these shops? Not all of them are willing to do that, but willing to partner in, hey, we'll put an ad in these bus stops. We'll put an ad in these park benches. We'll put an ad on this bus. We'll put an ad in this movie theater.
What's up, Tim?
I mean,
but this has to be.
What's up, Tim? I know Tim was over there in Comicsburgh.
Yeah, Tim was at Comicsburgh. But you have to be able to think abstractly with a lot of this stuff, and as I said before, a lot of it can't do it. They can't. They don't have time. This is the problem that you have with your distribution system, is that if you have too many, it was good to see you, Tim. If you have too many, then people get flustered because you don't have time. You've got very little time to do these things. Like I was saying before, is that you have a book in Diamond. You've got 30 days to promote that book before sales stop.
Okay.
And then nothing, and there's no payoff for that for 30 days. So for 3 months. So you're almost in a mode that you have to be able to break out of. So what we talked about was we were doing stuff with the Wrestling Federation. We want to try to capture the hockey, because that's other crossovers. Like, to me, there's nothing more superhero-y outside of comics than wrestling. They're superheroes. Like, they have a persona, they play a character. They're superheroes. Yeah. Why are we not embracing that?
They're tights.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they're jumping off and flying around and doing crazy stuff, and RKOing people and stuff like that. So you got catchphrases, you got all that stuff is there. And there's one thing that you will always notice about wrestling, is that their fan base doesn't age out. They do not age out. You've always got 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-olds in that crowd yelling for whoever is in that ring. So you don't have that in comics. Your whole entire pay field is aging out, and you're not replacing them.
That is big. Now, OJ, this is not just a question for Marvin. Do you think it is on the shoulders of the creators, on the shoulders of the retailers, or on the shoulders of the distributors to carry that weight and to bring in new readers?
It's on everybody's shoulders. I mean, the thing is that everybody has to pitch in, because the thing is we've lost the generation of readers, or we're losing them to manga, because they're going from things like we know we have entry-level comic books being produced, Dogman, right? Just as an example, and there are others, but that's the entry level. But then where are they going? Are they going to the shops? No, they're transitioning over to manga. Why? Because the same place they find Dogman, they find manga. It's the next style over, right? So whether you're getting it at Walmart or a bookstore or whatever, it's right there. You understand?
So did you see that type of representation there at Comics from Marvin? Was Scholastic there? Were other manga publishers like Viz there?
No, they were there last year though. Scholastic and Viz were represented there, and I think that they probably, maybe they don't feel the viability of it because they're already here. Do they? What do they need to push? Because you're having to get this stuff anyway. So you say Dogman is a big thing in comic shops now.
Right.
All right. So on the distributor side, you saw one rep from Diamond. You saw anyone from Lunar?
Lunar was there, yes.
Universal?
I don't know what happened with Universal. They
Really?
weren't there, and they've gone kind of radio silent ever since last year when they said that this year they were going to set up in the States. They've gone radio silent with all that stuff.
Really? Any other boutique distributors there?
So I mean, do you want to jump into the trifecta, or yeah, okay. So what we found out a while ago was that IVC2, led by
ICVQ.
Milton, who was the owner of Champion Comics, one of the distributors that got gobbled up by that.
No, it was Capital City.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Capital City. Capital City was what got gobbled up. Is doing a direct to retail model. So he's starting out with games, and then he's going to transition into comics. So how this is going to work is that you're going to send your data to the retailer. They'll make their orders, and you ship. So they're just they're not a middleman, but I guess you would consider it a broker.
A facilitator.
So they're not doing any of the work. And I asked him, I said that, so how are you going to deal with
I'm sorry, you asked too.
Milton was at the show. Yeah. So I asked him, I said, how are you going to deal?
Milton Greep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he stands out. He's like 6'6".
Yeah, he's a tall guy. So I asked him, I said, how are you going to deal with people who don't know anything about how to properly package a comic book before they ship it? And his answer was they will either write themselves or they will wrong themselves, and no one will order from them and they'll be gone.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, he's
so
going to
meritocracy, right?
Yes, he's going to count on the people doing it to do it right, because if they don't, they're going to fail and no one's going to deal with them. I mean, you're going to get one chance to ship somebody a damaged book, and you won't ever get another order. So I mean, people need to think about that before they sign up with this. I don't know. I think that probably there'll be a little bit of assistance from some of us on making guides on how to package a comic properly, because I don't think he's going to do any of that. He's going to let people fail on their own.
Right. You're going to weed yourself out.
Yes.
Now, go ahead, Colin.
Well, no, go ahead, Jay. I'll formulate the question.
Okay, good. So this is something that, even though they're facilitating it, are they talking about how much of a percentage they're going to take?
No, not yet. There's going to be some take. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the 60% that Diamond takes. So as long as it's less than that, I mean, I'm good.
So then it would also be on us to come up with our sales sheets,
right?
One sheets, whatever the case is. Okay, that's awesome.
Well, here's something. I mean, this is more a thought. You got to remember, Diamond doesn't take 60%, right?
Right.
40% goes to the retailers. Diamond takes 20%.
Yeah.
Right. So
sometimes,
yeah. Sometimes 65%. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
Sometimes. Right.
So, I mean, I see it as a good opportunity, because if, let's say they say, well, we're only going to take 5%, right? Because then we can give 50% off directly to the retailer. We can even get 55% off at that point, right? And
you can give 50% off and cover the cost of shipping, which they love. They hate to pay shipping, right? And I mean, there's numbers that could be worked about. We don't want to give out too many because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the fight. But I mean, it's a great idea. You know, it's circumventing Diamond. The thing is, you still need the retailers to catch on to it.
Yes.
Right.
And that's why it's important that it's this specific person doing it who has those connections.
I agree with that.
That can like, again, another door kicker, because if it was us coming out the gate, they're like, I don't care about those guys. Who cares?
Right. Now, Marvin, you've been in the game, meaning going through Diamond for what, about a year now?
Yes.
Going on a year. Okay. Now, in your estimation, I know you're still doing deals where you're selling directly to stores. Now, in your estimation, how many stores do you actually think or know of are buying indie comic books? Right? Because
so I mean, it's hard to estimate, because it's hard to figure out how many stores there are right now, because we don't have a list. We don't have an actual list. And we actually
master list.
Yeah, we actually lost the store, and we got two. So there were two new stores that opened up that were at their first Comicsburgh. So we gained 2 stores. So we lost 1, we gained 2. So I mean, saying that in that, like, let's guesstimate there's 2,000 stores. I would say in the upper echelon of who's getting indies, it's somewhere in the 700 range.
And that's not counting those that have multiple locations.
Well,
right?
I mean, that's not counting online only too. That's brick and mortar.
Well, here's the reason I ask, right? Because I mean, I think the number. Did you say it was 700?
That's what I would guess. 700, yeah.
Okay, now let's compress it down, right? Because I'm pretty sure in that number is like in that number is Image, Boom, Dynamite.
Yeah, of course.
A bunch of these companies.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, love those guys, not too interested in them.
Yeah.
Like,
so if you take those guys off the top, then we're probably in the 500 range.
Okay. Okay. I mean, because that's higher than what I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm thinking more 200, maybe 300.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I remember when this is going back a little bit, right? Before Dinesh started Bad Idea, right? He was over with Valiant, and he would say that 80% of their revenue, their direct-to-market revenue, comes from 18% of the retail locations.
Yes.
Right. So if there were, even if there were what, 3,000 stores, that's only what, 540 shops. Right. If there's 2,000 stores, what, 36 is 360 shops.
Right.
So it's not like a significant amount of shops. And the reason I ask is because I'm like, okay, like, how many units are we going to sell per shop? Right. Some stores are going to buy more, some are going to buy less, but what's the average? Right. Can you get 200 shops to buy 10 copies per book on average? Because some are going to buy 20, some are going to buy 2, so on and so forth.
Right.
So could you sell 2,000 books? Basically, that's what I'm asking the question, right? Can we get to that number? Because we know that's a sustainable number for us.
Right.
Right. Where we can think and make a little bit of money.
Yeah, like you said, that I think it's going to be the buy-in to the retailer and your marketing plan, how you're marketing that book to those shops. I mean, it's no different than the way that we do with Diamond. You're going to have to do the same legwork is going to have to be done. You're still going to be calling, you're still going to be emailing, you're still going to be trying to drive to that shop and say, hey, look at me, I'm over here. So I mean, nothing changes. I mean, the only thing that changes is your overhead of costs that you're going to have to figure out, because it goes down. Not having Diamond in the middle there.
Right. Now, do you think it's going to still be viable to go use both platforms? Oh, and here's another question: Was Lunar opening up? Did they say anything about opening up to new publishers?
I've been on their wait list for 2 years.
Okay. So besides Milton going on talking about his portal, Lunar not talking to anybody, were there any other platforms that are getting into the distribution game or management of?
So if you're familiar with Comics Hub, if you use that to order comics, they are opening it up. Well, I mean, I think it's active now, but I think they're changing some of the terms or something. Comics Hub will be having publisher access, so you'll be able to pitch not only to retailers but to customers too. So everybody who is signed up for Comics Hub is open to you. So you'll be able to see the stores, you'll be able to see who frequents those stores. So you'll be able to market to publishers and to the customers.
Did Comics Hub talk about how many retailers are using their platform, Mel?
I think they're around 250.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so about 10%.
Yeah. Well, that's worldwide. They're around the world.
Okay. Okay. Now, is this going to operate or does this operate similar to what Milton is planning, or is this something that works in conjunction with Diamond?
So here's the kicker on that one. This is going to work with crowdfunding.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that Stu Colson is Comics Hub. He's from Australia. Is one thing he wanted to do. So there will be a crowdfunding. I don't know if it's going to be with Kickstarter or if it's going to be its own thing, but there will be crowdfunding in the
Now the question is it going to be a pay to play, or is it a free service?
Right now, looking at the site, there is a fee associated with it. I think that may change.
Okay, but even if it's a one-time fee, like what BackerKit is doing to their, to the email blast, to their email blast, or the percentage of overall sales per campaign,
it's like $150 a month on it right now.
So we're looking at
Well, there's three tiers. There's three different tiers.
Your chair needs some oil there, doesn't it, Counselor?
I'm fine.
There's 3 tiers on there right now, but I think that those are going to change. I mean, I've got literature on it. I didn't get a chance to read it, so I'll read it, and then I always disseminate my information out to the ecosphere to make sure everybody.
And that's one of the cool things about you, Marvin. I don't think. Jesus Christ, what did you eat tonight?
Yeah, that was the chair. What the fuck? Look. You hear that?
I don't know. I didn't hear the same sound I heard a moment ago. All right. Marvin, that's one of the cool things about you, man. You don't hold your information close to the vest. You do a lot of work to help out a lot of the indie guys. Do you think some of that work you're going to be doing is expanding the presence of Comicsburgh to other indie guys?
That's part of the plan, is that we not only do we want to help, but we want to make sure that we're expanding ourselves and to be kind of like a voice out there in the indie realm of help. Like, we want to be able to say that when you come into this space, there's help, and it's not stumbling around in the dark like we did when we first got started. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Right.
Like,
Tim has a question.
Ask
it.
Ask a question, Tim.
We're stumbling around and just have no idea what we're doing or where we're going or how we get there. And I mean, I want to remove those roadblocks, because that's one of the most discouraging things for someone coming into that realm, is that I don't know what to do. I quit.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to quit, but you also don't want to. You don't want to be tossed into the deep end of the pool with the sharks and try to figure out how to swim at the same time.
Right. And that's what we want to do. We want to have the bat shark repellent, like in the Batman 66 movie. So we want to spray the repellent around. It just helped. Like I say, is that every day there's some new controversy with comics, and I'm like, I don't have time for all this, because I don't have time for any of that. Right. I sign on to Facebook. I flip through a lot of stuff, and I see, okay, what's new? There's some nonsense going on. I don't have time for that. Keep going. I might share it with you guys sometimes. Like, man, look at this nonsense going over here. But I just don't have time to care that somebody is beefing with somebody else over some beef from like 3 years.
Yeah. That's not what we're talking about tonight. Timothy, I sent you check your Facebook, buddy. But going back to these different portals that are opening to help. When did Stu talk about the integration with the crowdfunding platform being announced publicly?
They did not have a set date, but like I said, there's literature that I have to go through to get all the nuances on what's going to happen there. Okay. I don't want to speak out of turn to give information that I don't 100% have. So I want to make sure that I'm giving the proper information.
So Jen Haynes had spoken in the past about working on an algorithm between Comics Pro, Marvel, DC, to track sales numbers, even sell through numbers. Right. Was that something that was spoken about this weekend?
No. So I think they've kind of. Oh, you just lost JD. I think they've kind of. They're still kicking that around, because the numbers don't look good from what they have. Like, your sales are down from last year.
We knew that.
And that's just not just floppies, but also trades. But again, you're only tracking it from a single source. So I mean, you really don't know what the true numbers are. It's really hard to say. So looking at it,
they mentioned that is it only going to be comic book shops, or is it any retail outlet that sells?
It's going to have to encapsulate everything. You're going to have to get your Amazons, your Walmarts, your Targets, anything that's carrying trades or comics has to be like you're going to have to track all these. Those are sales that you have to track. Every sale has to be tracked because you have to show improvement, because you have to give those numbers to show people that it's not like you don't want to keep hearing every year comics are dying, and then when you show them the numbers, say, well, they're not dying. You're just having a slight transition from one form to another, but you still have to be able to capture your audience and that information.
I got somebody here who I think wants to add a question.
Yes.
Ask a question. God damn. Let's bring him in. Tom, what up, kid?
So we did have one more but we'll let Tom ask this question, then we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Oh no, I have no questions. I have questions. I do have a question, but I just listened to you guys talk, and I'm like, I didn't want to butt in. I just wanted everybody to get their information out.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, like all of that stuff just sounds like chaos to me. It's why we've never done diamond summits or any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it all sounds, at the end of the day, ultimately borderline pointless. Because we know, unfortunately, that there's only a handful of stores that buy our shit anyway, and most of the people we're going to talk to don't give two shits. Most of them don't even care about things like Dark Horse and Zenoscope and whatever, much less me and the guys that are even below
you bring
them.
that up. It's kind of interesting that Dark Horse and Zenoscope and don't have a presence at these shows, and we do. So I mean, it's
real.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, do they have the same thought process as me? Like, this is a pointless endeavor.
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, it's
Richardson doesn't run Dark Horse anymore.
Yeah, Dark Horse was sold. It is owned by somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. Now I don't know what that means necessarily, but that's always the thing. It's like, and I know, trust me, guys, I know I'm the glass is half empty guy. I get it. I'm that guy. I will play devil's advocate. I will be that dude.
Oh yeah, we need that. I mean, there isn't anything. It's never going to be anything that I'm going to turn my nose up to and say, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about." Because I know you know what you're talking about because you talked before.
So like one of the things though, like you were just talking about this portal thing, and I saw you talking about it online a while back, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of an interesting thing." But
which portal? Comics portal?
The thing about how there's a website and someone would buy for me, and I would be the one shipping and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, but it always comes back to this element, which is, how is that portal promoting itself to exist? Always. It's always that portion. It's like you guys were talking about earlier, like whose job is it to promote comics and stuff?
Okay.
What has the fucking distributors done for us in the last 40 years to promote comics?
And that's exactly the reason why Comics Hub, ICV2, and now Managed Comics is going to steal their lunch.
There you go.
But
there you
this
go.
is what I'm asking. How are they going to do anything different to gain this sales pool of people? What are they have they talked about, like, we are going to market in this such and such a way? Because like, for example, if you look at like just to use the batshit out of hell thing, like Whatnot, right? They went crazy marketing themselves across the country and at big cons and had big booths, and now they're immense, right? So what is the hub? Do they have a plan? Have they talked about, here's our plan to market, like, we're going to be at New York Comic Con, we're going to be at C2E2, we're going to do these things. You know what I mean?
So like Stu is in Australia.
Hold on, Marvin. I know you want to do that, but let me bring in somebody else who was also at Comics Pro this weekend, hanging out on the backside. Hopefully he can add insight along with you to this question. Timothy, what's up, buddy?
He's on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, bro. I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
hey,
sir.
So I first of all, thanks for bringing me in. It's great to see you guys.
Joining,
great
brother.
to see you. Good to see you, Tom. Good to see you, Marvin.
Sure.
I apologize if I charged into your chat when I said I want in. I was making a little in joke as I referenced to I'm waiting for Comicsburgh to open up to other Pennsylvania applicants. Here's why I say that. I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but man, nice job at the event by the Comicsburgh crew. They have a great amount of like we talk about how the support, well, actually this touches on what Tom was saying, that the support for the industry, hey, what's up, Carlos? The support for the industry is going to have to come from within. It's not, we can't wait for a savior. Well, this person's going to come, and that isn't going to happen. We're going to have to do these things ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I was really impressed by the way these guys get along. They have a nice setup for the booth. They have a real synergy kind of going between the brands. As far as the event itself, it was great for a guy at my level because I don't, it wasn't a thing necessarily to build followers. It was fully networking and relationships. You know what I mean? And hey, I got to spend a couple minutes with CB Sobolski, Jeff Johns, like super heavy hitters, right? And put the books, as I'm fond of saying, right into their hands. Nice. Like the IDW guys, they were like, "Well, hey, did you bring samples?" Yeah, man. Nice. So, I'm not 100% sure how it all shook out, but I'm going to be doing a lot of follow-ups this week. But I gave out a lot of.
Right. So let's follow up on the question Tom asked to Marvin.
Yeah. So the marketing piece. I mean, that's the one thing that is always going to be the challenge. And the one thing that they have is that they already have a presence with these retailers. So they're like, you've got multiple shops using Comics Hub. You've got multiple shops involved with IVC2. You've got multiple shops in Manage. So they've got a foot in the door. So now the thing is that you want to have to promote it to the customers. Mm-hmm. So that's where their biggest, that's where their challenge is.
Customers. When we have these platforms open, now does it change? Does it shift the dynamic? Are we selling to retailers or are we selling to consumers?
You're doing both.
Selling to both.
You want to do both because
it has to be both because what's the why? I already don't sell to retailers, so who cares? It has to be a new. Because like a wide open marketplace.
The Comics Hub has both the store's contacts and the person who is ordering contacts. So you're going to have access to both.
Okay.
Managed Comics, the same thing. You're going to have access to both. The people who are ordering those books through that system and the stores those books are going to. So I'm not sure how ICV2 is going to be able to trump those kind of things, but they already have all that data. So to me, the Comics Hub one seems like it's going to be maybe the top tier, with the other ones falling in behind it because it's already got both options there.
Now,
but again, the options are fine, but I want to know how are they going to go tell John Q. Mary at the movie theater that they can buy comic books or whatever. You know what I mean? Like how, or it's just even if they're going to do a Comic-Con tour, like Whatnot did. Right. Like I want to hear what these guys have in store.
Oh yeah. That's where we come in and we pump them for that kind of stuff because like I said that all this is fresh. This is all fresh new stuff, and this is our opportunity to guide something forward because they weren't going to the retailers telling about this. They were coming to the publisher and creators and talking to like this. Like I pulled the guy from Managed Comics aside 2 days ago and got in his ear about this thing. I said, "Hey, you've got a good platform here. Why are you not doing things for publishing creators?" And he's like, "I didn't even think about doing that. I'm so glad you talked." So we're going to be talking about how we can integrate with that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's so many opportunities out there to get this stuff done. I mean, it's just us.
Explain to me what. I'm sorry. You know what? Before I ask my question, Calderon, you wanted to ask something. Go ahead.
Timeline. Is there any timeline for any of these products coming out? Like any of these resources coming out? Did they discuss it?
ICV2 is doing games first, so and then comics. So you're talking at least 6 months, 6 months to a year before that platform's ready to go. Comics Hub, they're like 90% there, so they'll probably turn on first. Managed Comics is a work in progress.
Okay. Gotcha. What does Managed Comics do exactly?
It's the POS.
Yeah.
They're POS. Okay.
You got the vibe, didn't you, Marvin, that there's a little bit of a POS war?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I tell you what my takeaway was from that. I just love to perceive it like this. I could be totally wrong. That it's going to be somehow scooped up into one thing. Me looking at it, if I was the type of guy to invest in, I was thinking, man, if somebody bought all three again, they'd have a diamond, they'd have a monopoly again for the price of three software companies, which are probably cheap.
I mean, before I brought in Tom, you were asking a question, right? And I want to refer to the cab wars here in New York City, right? You had the New York City TLC Commission was at the top of its game. They thought they had no competitors at all, so they felt no need to innovate at all. And then here comes ride shares, right, which ended up becoming Uber, and they were fighting off the back foot from the first second. Right? They had felt no need to innovate at all because they thought they were the 800-pound gorilla, and they suffered for it greatly. You had people who were waiting years to get a medallion so they can operate a taxi here in New York City, who automatically went to the rideshare platform and were taking fares within hours. Right? Diamond never innovated. I don't know how many times I spoke to Marvin or other vendors and complained about the interface that Diamond has their vendors operating with. It is something that probably is still running on Windows 95. And that's scary when you have the centerpiece of the entire industry unwilling, unmotivated, does not feel the necessity to innovate.
When you're saying, are you saying Diamond is the centerpiece of the industry?
They were for a long time.
Hey, listen, I want to tell you, that's another one of the takeaways from this event we were at. Diamond is definitely no longer the centerpiece of the Marvin, am I right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but the problem is that only continues if Lunar continues to expand. And if Lunar's not going to continue to expand, that leaves Diamond's door wide open for people to come into Diamond.
Or if you can get into Diamond.
Diamond will take you. Assuming you have a quality product, Diamond will take you.
That's another conversation for another time. But
like you guys have said, Lunar is not taking accounts, right? So Lunar,
Tom,
it doesn't
matter.
Hold on.
Can I ask a question real quick, Tom? How do you kick someone in the dick without kicking them in the dick? I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter if you have these platforms that are circumventing the distributor. Right, and if it becomes something that's easier to interface.
Oh, sure, yeah, but just like Marvin said, we're 6 months to a year before this stuff is real. So yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, but we can't just say that Diamond is the dinosaur out the door if there's nobody else taking accounts. If new companies want to come in and be like, I'm a comic book guy and Lunar won't take me, you go to Diamond and you put your book through Diamond, or you get another publisher, of course, that's already in Diamond. But Diamond is a dinosaur, but in some ways, so is Lunar. Lunar has some new methodologies of things, but it's not groundbreaking. It's just another option.
Well, I mean, because they're just copying what the other guys did. They're not. They didn't come in and innovate or change anything. It was like they looked at what they did and said, "Yeah, that works."
Yeah, and they ship better, and there's some customer service betterment with Lunar, but the system itself is essentially the same. So Lunar and Diamond are still both lumbering dinosaurs, and something could come along and start to kick them in the shin. But we're a long ways away from either of those companies going away. Same with, and Penguin does Marvel and so on. So the system isn't changing anytime soon. Even with these new hubs, if they open 1 or 8 of them, it doesn't matter. It's still, how do we market these things that they even exist? How do we tell the customers that they exist? Because the customers are what matter. Sorry, guys, the retailers, they don't matter as much as they used to matter.
Right, and that's why I said that the Comics Hub one is probably going to be the first viable one out the gate, because you can market directly to the customer.
Right.
Through their hub. So
if there was, God, it drives me crazy. I was listening to you guys and the whole like 200 to 500 stores and whatever, and I'm like, we keep having these discussions of how do we save the industry, and I'm like, the industry doesn't want to save itself.
Well, I mean,
I'm
that's
not
another one.
seeing an industry that wants to save itself by understanding business practices that other businesses understand. And you guys were kind of talking about that earlier too. It's just like they want to buy Marvel and DC, even at the, like you said, at the comics, at this Comics Hub thing, or Comics Pro thing, it was all the big guys and everybody's there to see the big guys. Marvel, DC, Image, whatever. If that's the status quo, then the rest of us, what are we trying to do?
The rest of us take our lunch in our bag and we go elsewhere because this guy has a plan.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've said it before in the past. Independent comics is always made up about 20% of the market, right? And so you're leaving 70% for Marvel and DC, 10% for Image. The rest of us are, and that's compacted down with like Boom and IDW and all these other companies, 20%, right? Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't know of any business that wouldn't want an extra 20%. So I think any business that ignores that 20% is foolish. And the problem is that we have a lot of these stores that are owned and operated by people who just started from their collections. I mean, God bless them. You know, they just started as fans of Marvel and DC, and they got stuck there, right?
Not many of them looking beyond.
Right, and they're not looking beyond to bring in more things because they're like, well, Marvel and DC are selling well enough, but now they got to sell pops, and now they got to sell video games, and now they got to sell all this other stuff. Why not? You know, if from the very beginning they had started selling indies, maybe it might have helped. You know,
I want to put this out there. During the pandemic, how many shops flourished by selling their back stock? Comic books, not just not pops, not tchotchkes, right? Not any other gimmicks.
Well, this comes back to this is a great point, but this also comes back to another point that's being brought up in current industry is that new comics are dying, guys, not back issues. Back issues keep selling. Hulk 181 is still going to be Hulk 181, but new comics are the part that's suffering. And I'm talking primarily, I mean, in general, yes, but mostly Marvel and DC. And if Marvel and DC,
it's okay to say it, Tom. It's a record low. It's record low sales numbers over 80 years of compiled data. It's okay to say this, and that's why
I say it all the time.
Yeah,
he's trying to say it in a way that doesn't like shock people.
Yeah, they don't like it when you say it. But like when JD was saying, Marvel and DC were doing okay. That's actually the part that's not doing okay. The one fella said to me that what was giving weight. Let me try to make sure I say this the right way the guy said it, because this was one of my takeaways too. Preferential weight is given to books that come in an unconventional format, meaning size, a different color palette, or unconventional lettering, because they don't look like your father's comic. And he said the reason for that is that people are. He gives the same examples we always heard. It was Dogman. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid was in there. And this is the guy from Rocket Ship. They had a couple of samples. And there were books that were, they were all weird shapes. And he's like, look, they're doing record numbers, these books.
But those are also bookstore books, not comic book store books, right?
Well, a couple of these were comic store books. They were soft covers. They were 24 pagers. They were, you could look at a couple of them, though. They looked like bookstore books. But they were what you and I would call floppies. Right. And they were just different sizes, too.
I want to just recap on something. These are notes that I took down from when Milton Greep from ICV2 spoke at New York Comic Con and where the industry was back in October. All right. And that was that comics are more flat last year in the second half. Digital sales are down since 2021. Manga is 45% of all graphic novel sales, which are up 9% from the previous year, so up from 2022. Superhero consists of 14% of total sales, which is up 9% from 2022.
This is the book market we're still in?
This is total. So this is book market and comic shops. And the author stuff, which was creator-owned books, was up 14% from 2022, which comprised of 10% of the total amount of sales from the previous year. One Piece was a tough sale back in the 90s when he was selling it through Capital City. Said he was pulling teeth, but look at what it's doing now. and it took years for that to develop. How many creator-owned properties can survive that long to get to that point, right? I mean, Cerebus, stuff like that. But
yeah, look at Usagi Yojimbo. It's only just become a thing. Yeah,
exactly. The top 10 graphic novels at that time were, this was back in October, Batman, Spider-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, X-Men, Sandman, Star Wars, Watchmen, and Avengers were top 10 in the top 10. Comic stores have doubled, even though we lost shops. Comic shops have doubled since 2010.
doubled in existence.
Doubled in existence.
So you're telling me if there was 2,000 stores in 2010, there's 4,000 now?
This is coming out of his mouth.
That doesn't sound right, buddy. Yeah, and I can tell you,
that sounds.
When I did it in 2012, that was my store was in 2010.
Doubled since 2010.
It was about 3,600 stores, and I want to say now it's something like 2,000. Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that doesn't sound right.
If anyone wants, they can go to ICV2, reach out to the customer service section, and ask for his New York Comic Con deck.
Okay.
All right. That was the information that was provided during the show. So I have no problem with anybody that is contesting this at all. I'm not saying this is set in stone.
No, sure. I get you. I get you. Yeah.
The only question I have on that is how much did they sell a Darkman?
You motherfucker. All right. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to get into this, because Calderon was talking about market share. So market share, Marvel had 37%, DC had 24%, Image had 9.7%, IDW had just under 5%, so maybe 4.9, 4.8. Boom had 4.3%, Dark Horse had 3.2%, Viz had just over 2%, and everything else is after that.
Yeah, and real quick in the comments, I was just about to say it could include like online sellers and not just brick and mortar. In that situation, I would agree that there's probably been some growth in that regard, just because online has exploded.
Right. So
periodicals.
Diamond did that. So Diamond accepted online retailers. Comics Pro, you have to have a brick and mortar.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay. Periodicals, right? So the stuff that many of us do, the 24, 32-page books, have not moved up or down in 13 years. They have just been keeping up with the price of inflation. Right? That's why many of us are doing the $4.99 books. Excuse me. But even that is down. Tom, you were talking about, and excuse me, I think it was Tim that was talking about the size formats being shifted and stuff like that.
Right.
Here's the key that highlights this. Consumers will pay higher prices for more pages per book and the better presentation. So we're talking about hardcovers, we're talking about premium paper, all right?
Okay,
maybe formats.
Let's comment on that right now, because I totally agree on the format element, like hardcovers and oversized things and stuff like that. 100% that's true. The other thing that you said is that they're willing to pay more for more pages is horseshit. People don't want to pay a higher price, even if they're getting more pages. Like we've been seeing DC books, for example, that are like 80 pages for $10 or whatever. People don't want to spend $10 on that book. I hear it all the time.
Not for that.
But I'll pay pages of DC. I'll pay $50 for a 700 page compendium.
Yeah, but again, that's the hardcover thing. Like the omnibus thing.
Those are paperbacks. Compendiums are paperbacks.
They do paperbacks and hardcovers, but the omnibus thing, the collectible gigantic ass books, that's become a huge thing. But if you go to like Comic Cons and stuff, you're gonna watch all these artists come in with these big like art books and stuff and just hardcover. Like even Polito does like hardcover Lady Deaths at like 60 pages in their hardcovers. People will pay for that stuff. And it's that's a real thing. His books also now are a minimum of 60 pages when he does his Kickstarters on.
They're not 48 anymore?
No, they're 60 pages now. And part of what he does there, this is again, it's just smart marketing, right? He'll do a 60-page book on a Kickstarter, and then he'll take that book and send it to Diamond, break it into 3 individual issues of 20 pages each, and sell it 3 times, over the course of the thing. So, the Kickstarter to retail, whether you're doing it yourself or whether you're taking it to a publisher, Kickstarter to retail is essentially now a tried and true method. Your results are going to vary. Obviously, we're all not Polito, but it is a tried and true method. If you can pay for your product through a crowdfund and then give it to a publisher, at minimum, you're getting eyeballs on the product that should then trickle down. Hey, who's Tom? What's Big Dog Inc? Like, what is this stuff? You can then grow the way that he did through crowdfunding. And that's, like I said, that's a tried and true method.
Tom, we've spoken about this before. It's utilizing a secondary revenue stream to bring people back down the funnel to your core product.
So Carlos made a comment before about crowdfunding.
We've had a bunch of comments jump in. Thank you, everybody, for engaging in all this. I love that.
See what happens when I come on your show, Jay?
No, because you're coming on. I lost the viewers. And Tim too. Shit. All right. Which was it? This one here?
Carlos.
We got a lot of people chiming in. Okay. Carlos, the rest of us are trying to leave crowdfunding and trying to gain a sustainability outside of crowdfunding. Or you're going to stay in that arena and die. Out of 10, maybe 1 or 2 will ascend, and the rest stay in your crowdfunder lane or pack it in.
I don't know who's trying to leave crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
There is just nothing but a surge to crowdfunding right now.
No way, no need. If you utilize that as your primary source of revenue, even if it's just to regain your production costs, right? You're ahead of the game, because none of us are raising money selling advertising in our books, and we got to figure a way to cover our production costs.
Right. If you're doing crowdfunding properly, and all you're doing is like Jay just said, is covering all your costs, but you have books left over, that's your profit. You keep selling books, you make profit. So crowdfunding is not the thing anyone's leaving. There is no other way to produce a book and put it on the market without essentially just chasing money. Yeah, I can throw $10,000 at a book and send it to Diamond and hope I sell 4,000 units. It's not going to happen. But with crowdfunding, we can do a pre-sale, we can do limited edition books, we can make a quality product, and then it's done, it's paid for, and then we can move it on to a publisher or do it ourselves or whatever, and try and get, again, if nothing else, get the eyeballs. But you're not going to make much money in the retail side of things. I've said this dozens of times on hundreds of shows. There's no money there, but that's a marketing expense. And if you treat it that way and you understand that that's what it is, then you can utilize it as, hey, I'm in Diamond. You can make sure you tell retailers you're in Diamond. You can tell Hollywood that you're in Diamond. You can use that as a marketing thing that you are there, whether you're by yourself or with a publisher.
It's another door kicker. And I mean, nobody out here in this realm is competing with Marvel or DC. You can't compete with corporations.
No way.
Right. You cannot. No one who is wise or smart is going to try to release a book monthly. You're just not. Don't do it.
All right. So Granda keeps bringing this part up, and I think, Tom, you answered it a moment ago, right? You do the hardcover first, what Polito's doing, and then you break down the single issues to bring people more awareness of the product, to keep your longevity on the shelves going, right? But that other thing is still your core product.
I think I might show one of these books real quick. Let me grab one. I got some.
Go ahead, grab. Number one, variants command more due to their collectability, but if it's now only pure readers, well, they will just get digital.
No, that's not true either. Like I'm a reader, and I don't want ever to do digital book. I'm telling you all right now. I don't care if you send me a digital book. I'm never reading it. I want it in my hand. But that's me again. There are people that just are happy with digital on their iPad and so on. But that's still, like you just said, Jay, the digital sales are down overall. So I don't buy into the fact that digital is coming for us all. It's a thing, it's there, it's not going away. Right. I don't see it knocking us over.
Yeah, in most cases, the digital thing is international because of
shipping. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
What was that page said? I missed it.
Yo, Marvin Wynn. Yeah, baby, talk about those new Comicsburgh titles. Marvin was out there doing his thing, Paige.
Well, I think he wants me to talk about it on the show, but we'll
I want to show a quick sample to you guys what I'm talking about by the
Okay,
types of these books that have increased preferential publication potential.
Okay.
Look at the format on that. It looks like a magazine. It's not even quite a magazine. It's a square. That's Merca Andolfo. Hope
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying that
those.
right.
That's like those black DC Black Label things.
It's very much. There was quite a few like that, Tom.
Yeah.
But on the inside, let's be honest, it's floppy. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's a floppy. Yeah, they made those back in the 80s. I mean, this is not a new thing.
Yeah,
we're just going back to the
what's the
80s
new
and saying,
thing,
remember
though?
when we did that?
No, that's not what it is at all. What they're saying is that the other models not selling because what they're trying to continuously do is reboot essentially floppies for the same guy over and over again who's dying off out of the business.
Mhm.
So they're trying to return to these different sizes so that just because they are different.
right. Well,
Because it really is a comic
Right, but what I'm
size.
saying is that we did the different sizes in the 80s and a little bit in the 90s. We did that. That was done many, many, many times, and it died off because the collectors were like, I don't care about this. Like, I need a new box for this. I need, it was problematic for that.
Yeah.
But now, when Black Label came out, again, it was a return to that format to try it out and do something different. 100%. Let's do something different.
Yeah.
And then they showed us the bat dick, and everybody freaked out. But now I still see it as a very niche commodity.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not going to sell
look
at
the
all.
premium formats like 2000 AD and Heavy Metal Magazine.
Yeah,
where did they go? What happened to them?
Yeah, they're gone basically. Well, 2000 AD reverted to comic book form for the most part.
Okay.
I don't know what they still. I don't know if they still went back to the newspaper stuff, but
right because the bottom fell out of the magazine market.
Right. Now these things though that he's showing, the Black Label and the distillery books.
And, well, yeah. And by the way, I picked one black label size. There's other sizes too, of course. I was just trying to illustrate that when you first glance at it, it doesn't necessarily look like what we would call a floppy. But then when you open it up,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Then when you open it up, it's a floppy. I would even go one more. It doesn't even. That one in particular, and even a few of them, don't even particularly look like graphic novels, just because of like how the logo's placed. Mm-hmm. They're looking for something totally different. One of the comments was they're not too. They might be more akin to album covers.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But Calderon, you had this concept way back when. I remember you were talking about it. I don't know if you're still exploring it, but doing the big magazine format style, a la Shonen Jump, for the independent market.
Yeah, well, it was an idea, but it's always a thing about herding cats. I mean, I think here's something. Daphne and I would do these, right? And that's digest size. I think I got a standard comic book right here.
Oh, right? Okay, sure, right.
So we Daphne and I sold literally. Jay, you'll appreciate this. Thousands of these at comic book stores, shows. This was before Kickstarter. We sold tons of these things because we have 4 of them. This is just this is what volume 3 or whatever. And we have volumes 1 through 4, and we had another one. And we would sell them in sets, and people would always come by and buy them in sets, right? So, we would sell like 30, 40, 50 sets at a show. Easy. Damn. And we did that for years. This is why I'm tired of going to shows. But yeah, I mean, other alternative formats is viable. You understand? It's definitely viable. And the thing is, though, is these formats in bookshops, I think is just going to be a preferable thing. That's what they're going to want to prefer. But it is way more difficult for us as indie guys to get into those shops. If we can convince a larger publisher to take us in there, that's something different, but those formats are viable. But it's just like I said, and here's the other thing, that format, 8.5 by 5.5 inches, much more cost effective than printing comic size. If you're printing the same amount of pages, much more cost effective.
Yeah.
In the States or out of the States?
Anywhere.
Both.
Yeah. Okay. It will now in the States. It's still going to be higher regardless, but your print cost will come down because they can get more on the existing sheets.
Correct.
So there's not a lot of like leftover paper.
So So JD, when are we doing that diamond show on the 13th, right?
The which one?
Calderon.
Oh,
On your show.
Calderon.
What happened? Yes, that's on the 17th.
Calderon is you. That's you, JD.
Yeah, so I mean, all these retail questions keep coming up. I think we should push that to that show because we'll have more time to talk about that. Because
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm loving the engagement, guys.
Oh yeah, I love
You guys are doing great.
With you guys.
I'm not going to break down numbers and explain to you why we don't make a lot of money through retail, but you know,
Paul's comment that you don't make money at retail and he got 5 tables like that. You didn't make money at retail. You got your book in a retail store, which is great, and that guy helps you get a table, and maybe you'll make money at the table, which is fine. But that's not selling to retail and making money. That's not the same thing. It's a completely different thing. And we're talking about, again, specifically going through a distribution method of Diamond. Here's my book. Sell my book, please, God. And, hopefully it's enough units to at least break even on your printing and so on.
All right. So let's get back to Comics Pro a second. All right. We went all over the place. I want to look at this from 2 different perspectives because we have a retailer who's already in Diamond. And then we have a creator who isn't in Diamond, right, on another label, but he was still at Comics Pro. Why did you feel you needed to be there, Tim?
Well, I'm in.
And not a knock. I want to know what was your
right. In my case, I was doing 2 things.
Okay.
Which was, I guess the way I got in is because I am in the previews catalog because of the Antarctic Press. That's like my credits, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
or at least I assume that's what it was. Maybe they were huge Water Wars fans. Let's be honest. Like most of us. But in my case, I was trying to achieve 2 things. I think Tom is right on the money here, and this is what I mean by that. I think that the ability to get into stores is not as easy as it used to be, and it's also more about the marketing than the sales. In a second, I'm going to explain what I mean by the difference between those 2. In this case, what I want to do is improve my relationships with retailers. Best way to do that is 1 relationship at a time. Go and meet them and talk to them. Hey, my name's Tim. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. In this case, you could even give samples like I took. Probably, I don't even count it up yet, but probably 200 samples or maybe 300. It's less than I would, spend on a con because I was invited to this darn thing. That was step 1. And the second step was to engage with some of the publishers because I always am looking for publishing arrangements and I'm trying to keep open-minded about what all the opportunities are. And you're going to be surprised. My experience there is it's not far off. It's 70% with being in the right place at the right time. A great big part of it is about being a likable guy.
So I'm doomed then. I'm screwed.
Don't knock that.
You can't take Jay to those things either.
Well, and here's the thing: in the course of 24 hours, I had 1-to-1 conversations with, right? And I don't mean like I'm name dropping, guys. This is new for me. Let me rewind a little bit. Tim Flynn does not think he's a big shot, right? I'm a little guy. But here's the fact is, so I was with Jeff Johns, C.B. Cebulski. You had the president of Marvel Comics. IDW was there. Boom was there. We met with them. One of my favorites was Rocket Ship. Distillery was a good group, and you got to spend 5 to 10 minutes with each person. They were giving out their samples, too. Since I got the full screen, I got another one. They're real nice, right?
So you just went for the swag.
Well, it'd be fair to say that's a good enough reason. I'm preparing a show about that, so you guys are going to get to see.
So
all
let
that.
me.
Some of it was supplies, but I want to make sure I clarify. There was like a vendor portion, right, Marvin, the day before, where they could come through like it was a convention, and they would be like, "Who are you, and what are you doing?" You'd be like, "Hey, I'm a writer, I'm a creator, whatever." Everybody was. It was mostly writers, I guess, in our little wing there, and we were right next to the Power Ranger. Right. So I was happy about that. I like when, sometimes people complain, but the truth is I like things that trap a customer in front of my booth.
Yep.
Well, if you have the personality to snag, then it's good. But some people don't have that personality. They get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. Well, it was myself and David Daub, he's pretty gregarious fella. And, he was like, "Oh, I can't believe we're next to the Power Ranger." I'm like, here's our chance, man. You just start rapping with the people. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I own 3 retail stores. Oh, how about you? I'm a publisher. It's all in our case, Tom, it's all the right people.
Yeah.
And there was 1 or 2 people that weren't like, I met the guys who make bags and boards and card protectors and slabs. Now I'm into that kind of stuff because I'm a collector. Okay. But that's not why I was there. I was trying to really focus my energies. And I said to myself, Marvin, actually, these guys hooked me up, man. If it seems like I'm loving Comicsburgh, the crew in Pittsburgh took really good care of the other creators.
Very nice.
Yeah. And so I couldn't believe that I got to meet Jeff Johns twice, actually. And to me, it was worth it just for that. If nothing else happened, it was worth it just for that.
Yeah.
But in my case, it's more about the next week. I'm going to be writing to the retailers.
Mhm.
And of course, I try to listen to what everybody says, but I'm not sure that, I talked to Marvin about this. I'm not sure the previews catalog is the answer. It's more something like creating these alliances. And my guess is maybe you could call stores in kind of blocks. Okay, you got, the Northeast US and you've got the South, something like that, where you have you watch over a territory of stores that you put your inventory in. And maybe if you can, you even visit it firsthand somehow.
Well, I mean, and
Something like
that said, Aftershock had the perfect idea with their ambassadors, and they flubbed it.
Are they in business anymore or no?
Yes, but
Technically, yes, but
they cut loose all those ambassadors.
They owe some people some money.
Oh, so the ambassadors were on the payroll?
Yes,
Oh, I thought they were just, paid in swag.
somewhere.
Okay.
That's insider information, by the way.
Okay. We'll be quiet with it, right?
we
Tim,
be
really
sure we
quick-
won't put this on YouTube.
No.
Don't let anybody know.
Listen, we got Aldudo in chat, right? That's Ryan, who's usually here with us. That's our whole strategy at conventions, buddy, is creating traffic jams by taking a picture of a hot cosplayer. And while we create the traffic jam, we're picking them off one by one. I'm making no bones about it. That's how we do business.
Well, right. And I said I was going to mention really the difference between sales and marketing, right? When you're at a convention, those are customers. That's sales. Hey, man, how's your day going? Hey, do you like post-apocalyptic sci-fi? How about beautiful female heroines? You get them going with a little conversation, right? At the convention, you got somebody trapped in front of a booth because they're waiting to see the Power Rangers at the Comicsburgh, right? Hey, thanks for stopping. Take a look at the booth. What do you do? Oh, I'm a retailer. Oh, I'm a publisher. Wow, that's great. Would you like a promotional sample? It's all marketing. You know what I mean? You're not exchanging any money, but you've still got maybe 90 seconds to make the impression of your brand, your person, and hopefully, in my case, like I said, I'm a little old-fashioned. I'll try and shake hands with the person, build a little relationship. Where are you from? You know what I mean? And I get to the end, I have probably, I'm not kidding, probably 100 and some business cards.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, not being in Diamond currently, getting into Comicsburgh as an indie is a benefit.
Well, one of my things was, remember, JD, I'm trying new things this year. And this was one of them. And, how do I want to say this? It's too early to gauge what before I wave the flag, this is the most successful event I've ever done. It wasn't like that, because the first thing I remind the viewers, this is not a convention. Money was not changing hands. That's not what this is about.
This is a branding
it's
event.
about in our case, it is about the current challenge of the retailer and publisher industry and how they can work together more closely. You say that's about right, Marvin? That's really what it's about. Yeah.
Well,
so and by the way, I was a retailer before. I think we might have talked about this on one of the shows. So I'm very finely dialed into what the needs of the modern comic book retailer are. And it's not lost on me that your most successful comic book retailers, and I'm not saying this is a disparagement, but it's the guy who's got the 2,000 Funko Pops on his wall. It's not necessarily the guy who's got the broadest range of comic books for sale. You know what I mean? And again, there's nothing wrong with being a toy or a collectible dealer. Look, I love those things, but it's now very plainly apparent that those items are more profitable in some cases. I won't say in all cases, okay, but I mean, in many cases, the toys are what keeps the comic book store light bulbs on.
Well, it comes back to like what Marvin was talking about at the beginning. It's the big guys, right? And Pops is IP that everybody knows. There's no Critter Pop. Nobody knows what that is. So yeah, things like Pops and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, those are recognizable pop culture IP in whatever format they exist. And that's the dollars, unfortunately, that we lose because people are buying that stuff. But we can't look at that as like, gosh darn Pokemon, like I wish they'd go away. You just have to hustle to a different sort of audience and crowd that likes what you do, whether it's art, whether it's Jay does a zombie book, so go find all the zombie fans. You got to really hyper focus where you put your stuff particularly if you have different types of things
Right.
that you do.
Right.
And you know.
Well, I agree with what you said, and I think that to circle that around, like how do the things tie together? Because look, being an indie creator is a little bit different, right? We're not always necessarily sure yet what the best path is, and I know that I'm not sure yet. And it ties in a little bit to what JD was saying, like, well, what is the benefit of it? I guess is where I'm going with this. And in my case, like Tom said about the marketing, right? Like if somebody would come to you and say, well, this is a little bit like a convention, okay, except instead of customers, you're going to meet retailers and publishers, and you're going to get to sit down with each one for, let's say, sometimes it's about 15 minutes, Marvin, something like that, with each one. And actually you can talk to them about anything, but as you can guess, the conversation usually turns to, what do you do? Do you have any samples?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody would say that to a guy like you and say, there's a fee you have to pay because it's advertising, you'd probably pay the fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
I would too. I would too. Sorry to put you on the spot. I know you're usually asking the questions.
I'm sorry. I was reading Carlos's comment.
But anyway, where I'm going with that is that it's a kind of a service which for me was a little bit different than what I'm usually doing, and I want to try new things. I also, it is true that I try to get affiliated with quality groups when I can. That's one of the things I try to do with my brand, and I think that the Comicsburgh group is a great group, and I try to affiliate with them when possible.
He's just slumming here with you, though, Jay.
But to be honest, this is who got me in, and I wasn't even sure what I was doing there, fellas. And then I realized once again, it's like, oh, it's writers from PA, right? It's all like which I'm on the other end of the state, but I was still grateful to be included, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Right.
So, because I'm the guy, arguably, look, Marvin's got like 40 titles a month in the previews catalog. He doesn't need me hanging around. So I do 3. What do I do, JD? 4, maybe 4 titles a year in the previews catalog, right? It's something like that. Right. Guys, I think I might have one every 3 months about that. Okay, so out of all the group, what I'm stating there is, out of all of us, I probably need that extra juice. You know what I mean? The most. Mm-hmm. If what I'm trying to do is to get into the previews catalog. And I'm going to swing the conversation back around, because I think that what is advantageous is to meet the retailer one-on-one and
100%.
maybe, to try to set up some kind of arrangement. And in my case, that's what I'm going to do. And what do you mean by arrangement? Mine was, I talked to a couple of them. My spiel was, it comes with a book, a poster, and then there's also like a little chrome-plated trading card and a sticker. And if the customer buys the book, they get the poster, the card, and the sticker.
On the first issue.
Right.
Yeah. All right. What happened?
And I was gonna ask $10 for that little set. And it'd be signed too if the customer was so inclined. And then, of course, what I would do is, most of the retailers, it's sort of like a consignment. There's I wouldn't say it's a big payday. Again, going back to what Tom said, in this case, it's your marketing, right? If somebody would offer you an ad for that price and say your product goes into a store with a bunch of posters, would you take the deal? You would. You'd actually pay for that deal, I would bet. Mm-hmm. So any advantage that you could make with the retailer would be beneficial for your brand.
So after you guys left yesterday, we when we went down today, we had a 45-minute conversation with Joe Murray from Captain Blue Hen.
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry, from who?
That's a good one.
Captain Blue Hen.
Giant.
Blue Hand?
Captain Blue Hen.
Blue Hand?
Hen, like a chicken.
Okay. Like a chicken.
And he pretty much told us everything that we wanted to hear, that we are the stewards of the stuff, and that we're the guys that have the boots on the ground. We know what's going on. Retailers don't. They don't have a clue.
Right.
And he's going to be looking for us for assistance on that. And this is why that after coming out of this show and doing this show 2 years, I think we're in a position now to do this ourselves. We cut out the Marvels and the DCs because they're kind of standing over top of us, and we can do this ourselves. And I've already started planning a indie summit for next year here in Pittsburgh. Working.
Next year, I thought it was in June.
No. We need a whole year. We need a whole year to plan this.
Okay. So this one's not happening in June. Okay.
No. So
I was only making arrangements. Thanks for letting me know publicly. Thanks.
No,
Don't make it.
was a year.
Don't make it in June next year either. I won't be here. So pick another month.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Where are you going to be at? In
Well, June I usually go west because I have cons in June.
Okay.
So unless it just happens to be at the exact right sort of in between.
Is it because they drained the lake and they got to clean the basement?
No, it's because it's the summertime and all the dumb shits come and use the lake, and I don't want to be here with their boats running around.
I understand that.
They're just making noise and shooting fireworks, and get off my lawn.
Yeah. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like I said, that after doing this for 2 years, we got a good handle on how these things should function, and we can do this on our own. I have the space planned out. We have 2 venues that we can use. We can use a venue at the comic shop, which is 100 seats, or we get a room at the convention center on the top floor. So, I mean, it's just a matter of involvement. Who's going to be involved? Who's interested in this? I've got sponsors lined up.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I got another guy I was trying to do this with. So,
is this thought process basically to do a Comics Hub thing, or sorry, Comics Pro thing, but just indies? Is that the plan? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And it would be inviting retailers as well, or not?
Retailers are in.
Okay.
I've got a bunch. I mean, I can't give you an exact number, but I've got people in. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm definitely ready to go with this now.
By the way, some of the retailers, we sort of glossed over this one part, and I thought this was really cool. The truth is, and you guys know this, when you talk to retailers, they're often not very excited to talk to indie creators because it's not a very profitable segment. And that's putting it mildly, right? And let's be a realist. I was a retailer myself, and I wouldn't even talk to the indie guys back then. We were struggling to just get the bills paid, So I totally get it. But one thing that I noticed now, or at least I noticed at this event, probably better than 50% of the people are like, yeah, in fact, I support indies. I got a booth where I blah, blah, blah. And they involve crowdfunding somehow in their ordering. Like they at least, they'll do a retailer tier, that kind of thing. Like it's no longer the rare one. There was a lot of retailers that were doing it.
That turned around 180 from last year.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people
I'm hearing it. But I know Tom Calderon and me are just very skeptical about it.
Well,
I'm like, how about let me give you an example. So are you those fellas from New Dimension?
Give me more info. I don't know.
Well, they're the Pittsburgh comic dealer.
Yeah.
Do you know them, Marvin?
Oh, do I know New Dimension?
Well, it's John and
John Angle. Yeah, I know. I've been on the show. Yeah, I know. That's our number one store. That's what I'm saying. That's Comicsburgh Central is New Dimension.
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of my point. Is that they're one of the ones that now support the crowdfunded projects.
Yeah, I pump
they're a big one. They're a big one.
I pump all your stuff to those guys, and I'm pretty sure that they probably kicked in on some of your Kickstarters.
Yeah, that's a good group, man. I tell you, it's sorry, I spilled some cards here.
I've never seen them on my sales charts. I'll just say.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's it. It's a kicker, man. You keep pumping it up. That's all. That's it. Just keep pumping it up, and I guarantee you, it will open up because the Kickstarter thing of we're competing with Kickstarter is done with. It's over. Right. Like you said, that these retailers are in to hit crowdfundings.
Well, all right, going back some time now. I think it was post-pandemic, going back to Milton, Greep, and ICV2. He did mention that crowdfunding helped keep overall sales year to date of comic books in the black. I don't have those notes. I know I wrote them down. I have them here somewhere.
Well, that's because crowdfunding has been, at least through Kickstarter anyway, has been growing year after year after year.
Right. They can't ignore it anymore. They were trying to ignore it, and you can't. It's viable. You can't ignore it.
We've got more and more mainstream creators from the past, from yesteryear, I'm sorry to say, utilizing crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Right. Jimmy Palmiotti, Fabian Nicieza, Carl Cassell. But then you have, the big dog. We know who the big dog is. We don't got to mention him. He's out there fucking killing it. He's not even a dog in the race. But you know, there are other publishers, right, in the lower 1% of market share, utilizing crowdfunding as well.
Yep.
Successfully.
Yeah.
As
Why
part of
wouldn't
the
you is the question. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
When I see creators that do that as kind of a flex, I'm sure you guys have seen this. You're like, hey, and I didn't use crowdfunding, as if it was some kind of smart move. It's like,
I'm like, yeah, I didn't do crowdfunding for 7 years, dude. Trust me, I want crowdfunding. Like,
Yeah.
it's. A
I didn't even
different-
know about it. I didn't even know about it when I started.
Yeah,
And there's no reason not to. I mean, they're like revenue streams are everywhere. Like this past summer, they did an art crawl, like 2 feet from my front door. We went outside and set up a table, sold like 50 books to nobody. The people we don't even never even seen before. So there's no reason to shut yourself off from any viable venue that can make you money.
Any way you can make money, because as an indie, every penny counts.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you got like Rib Fest, hot dog eating contest, beer fest, whatever that stuff is. If they're allowing vendors, set a table up. What is you're not going to lose anything.
How about you want me to go speak at a panel at your convention? You're going to give me a free table? Yeah, I'll go do that. You know what I mean?
Kickstarter should run a convention. Like, they should do a Kickstarter con.
I have brought that up multiple times.
Bring Kickstarter people and say, these are the people
That's
that do
genius.
Kickstarters. This
That's
is how
genius.
it works.
I brought that
Teach
up
these
multiple times.
general crowd people what the hell is going on. So you can have it be Comic-Con, whatever, but presented by Kickstarter or whatever.
Right. And
All right,
also, the Kickstarter people are kind of like celebrities.
Right.
No, all right. I know the big conventions are New York and San Diego. I don't know San Diego. I know New York. And I know that at New York, eBay has a booth.
Yeah.
Whatnot has a booth. All right. Oh my God. Invictus Watches has a booth. Fig Pins has a booth. Okay. Why doesn't Kickstarter, which is at this point
because Kickstarter can barely keep staff. This is why. You know, they don't have infrastructure that's really thinking about how things work, right? Like all of us here, right? Hey, Kickstarter, make a fucking button that says turn this reward into an add-on. Like, this is easy stuff, right? And they can't do that. So it's just a matter of people. It's thinking outside the box, like we've talked about here. You got to think a little bit outside the box. It would cost them money, but who cares? Just use whatever you made off of Polito for one campaign and you'll be fine, you know. But I think it would be a really interesting, and it doesn't even have to be just comics. Like, they could bring their movie people and their music people, and like they could just do a cool, this is what we do, guys. And it would be gigantic for awareness for the brand, the platform. It would be great for the people that are involved with it, you know, whatever vendors are there. I think it would be a crazy tidal wave for crowdfunding in general and Kickstarter specifically, if they did 2 or 3 a year that were kind of even just mid-size, hyper-focused. We do crowdfunding, and this is why and how it works.
Great idea. That's a
yes,
great idea.
Kickstarter Con, right? Where we can meet the people that do the films, we can meet the people that do the music, right? And oh my God, maybe some sort of cross-pollination synergy type of
what?
Yeah.
It's almost like this makes sense, Jay.
Yeah. It would be great. And then we'll finally meet all these marketing people that send us those email blasts on that first day of a campaign.
You think they'll fly it out of Nigeria?
Guys,
God.
This has been a great conversation. We've had great engagement, been very informative. I hope everybody who watched this or will watch this, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, is coming away with something that they can apply on their creative journey. And if it saves you a couple bucks, or even better, makes you a couple bucks, goddamn, let people know how you used it and spread the word about it. All right. Folks, before we get out of here, please let everybody know where you're from. We're going to start off with Tim. Where are you from and where can they find you, brother?
I'm Tim Fling. I'm from York, Pennsylvania. I'm a writer. The best way to find me is at earthdogstudios.com. Although I'm on Kickstarter pretty regular, if that's a platform you prefer.
There you go. There you go, Calderon.
The writer and creator of the Oswald Chronicles. You can find me on just about anywhere under JD Calderon, but especially here tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. EST with that guy right there.
What?
That guy right there.
You
We'll
want
be
to show up
back.
this week? You want to show up?
Yeah, but you need me to get the engagement, JD. We just proved it right here in the chat. You know,
There you go. I'm sorry. Indie game developers are also using
also on
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Huge, yes.
Yes.
definitely.
But that's been
Listen,
going on for a
We
minute.
know Kickstarter is watching your show, Jay. We know they watch you every single week. So Kickstarter, just talk to me. I'll make it happen for you.
Hey, my
They're in
dude.
my backyard. If they would let me through the doors, we can make magic fucking happen. Tom, where can they find you, brother?
All things Big Dog Inc., guys. Wherever you want to go, just look up Big Dog Inc., BDI Comics. You'll find us. We pretty much live on Facebook, and everything gets sent out from there. We've got the Critterverse happening all year long. We're doing February 29th, Iron Butterfly launches. And then April, I think the 6th, the first weekend of April, the Critterverse is back. We'll be bringing Critter issue number 23 and then on with the rest of the year.
All right. Marvin, the man of the evening.
Well,
Brother.
you can find me in that where it says over there at the edge. So that's on all the social media platforms except for like, Blue Sky and those things like that. But I mean, I just want to make a comment. Like people are saying that, I mean, thanks for information. It's like that. I mean, that's all I want to do is share information. If I've got it, you got it. And I don't want to be this little box that holds on to things that I just want people to know about. And I want everybody to be successful because your success is my success.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you, Marvin. Thank you.
Yeah, brother. I am very grateful for you. And I'm happy.
For real.
All right. And this is where you can find me. Thank you all for joining us. All right. And if you're catching us on the restream on any one of these platforms, let us know and share that info with anyone. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.